What's up, guys? This is the 4th and Goal broadcast. Sunday night spectacular with David. How you doing tonight, David?
I'm doing all right, bud. Looking forward to talking some football tonight.
It's been a quiet week, but a busy week at the same time. There's been a few moves that happened around the NFL today, or throughout the week. What's the first topic you want to get started on, buddy?
Well, Wednesday, Aaron Rodgers come out of his seclusion, and it's been 4 days, and we haven't heard anything from him or from the Packers as far as, what he's going to do. I think that's the biggest question right now in the offseason. You've got, the team told him they needed to know kind of right away. Okay. The new league year starts on March the 15th. And so, they got to get their salary cap in order. They got to decide if there are other people they need to cut. Maybe they got to cut him. I mean, it sounds like that they're ready to move on. And so, it's up to him. The whole purpose behind this, sabbatical in the darkness or whatever is for him to decide whether or not he wants to continue to play. Because, if he retires, I think that would be, good for the Packers. I think they fill out the retirement paperwork, and then it doesn't cost them so much money. The other thing would be is that they could go ahead and trade him. There are teams that want to trade for him, but they're not sure how much they want to give because they don't know how long he wants to play. Is it just going to be for 1 year? Is he looking to go more than 1 year? And so, for me, I think that I was expecting him to say something here in the last 4 days because, they said, hey, we need to know right away. Maybe they're negotiating behind the scenes and we just haven't heard anything. It's been real hush-hush.
Yes. I don't know. There's so much crazy rumors with this because I've heard Green Bay's done with Aaron Rodgers. I've heard the front office is sick of this. Then I'm hearing that, Green Bay's been on the move, clearing cap, redoing deals. And so it's like at one point he might be staying, one point he might be going. It's a full-out circus right now.
Yeah.
On what is going on in Green Bay. Are they going to have Jordan Love? What are they going to do? Me personally, if I was a Packer fan, I think I would want to honestly move past all this baloney with him. I don't know. I'm not a Packer fan, but I know I wouldn't want my quarterback acting the way he is and doing the things he's doing.
I think if it was for me, or just, my opinion is I think he's going to retire. I think that he's done. I think he knew he was done when he walked down the tunnel with Randall Cobb, but he's, palming the camera guy and he's like, this is it, and I think he gave it another year to get the big money. Thought there might have been a chance that they could win. I think he doesn't want to spend the extra time that it's going to take to get on the same page with all of his team. He's taken up too much of the cap space. I don't think he wants to be traded, because if he was going to go to another team, I think it would have been last year. If he gets traded, that team's going to want him to be there all offseason because he's going to have a new system to learn, new teammates to get around, the whole kit and caboodle. And I don't think he wants to do that. Now I could be wrong. He may come right out and say, okay, I'm ready to be traded. I want to go here or there or wherever. And, we'll move on, and I think the Packers will be happy with that. But, I just think that he doesn't want to go to another team. And they're done with him in Green Bay. And I think that's what this whole making a decision if he wants to go and play somewhere else was all about.
Now, speaking of this is probably a great time to actually bring this up because I know you wanted to talk about it as well. I know in the previous broadcasts we mentioned the Jets for Rodgers, maybe Vegas. But this Derek Carr thing is really starting to heat up in New Jersey. A lot of rumors going around. Aaron Rodgers might lose a good chance, but the rumor has it the Jets hasn't moved on with the Derek Carr situation because they want to see what's going on with Rodgers.
Yeah, I'm glad you talked about Derek Carr. It's my opinion that, he was getting a jump start on his free agency by meeting with the New Orleans Saints. But then I was looking at salary cap figures for all of the teams going into this next year. New Orleans Saints are not in a good spot when it comes to, their salary cap situation. And we were talking before the show that, the new league year starts on March the 15th. Okay. And so all of these teams this week and next week are going to be scrambling to renegotiate contracts. They're going to have to make cuts. We've already seen some cuts in the league already. The Titans cut 3 players this week in Robert Woods and Zach Cunningham and their kicker, Randy Bullock, to get down, underneath the cap. The Rams have parted ways with Bobby Wagner. He signed a big deal with them, this last offseason, and he played, 1 year for them and was the highest rated linebacker by Pro Football Focus, by the way. So his talents are going to be in demand, but I'm sure he wants to play for a winner. And, I don't know what teams to put out there. There was a post on Facebook about maybe, the Steelers. They're not going to pay that kind of money. The Bengals, they're not going to pay that kind of money. Somebody said the Carolina Panthers, and I said the Panthers haven't proved that they're a winning organization. They got a new coach. They're a year or two away from, being in a position where they say, hey, we're winners. And so what winning organization out there is going to offer him the kind of money that he's looking for, in this free agency market? But back to Derek Carr, I think that he was talking to the Jets originally to drum up more money with New Orleans. But looking at their salary cap situation, they've got a lot of things they're going to have to do if they want to sign Derek Carr.
Exactly. And from what I'm hearing out of the Derek Carr camp, whatever team he signs with, he's hoping to sign with before free agency because he feels like he can recruit a bunch of people to come to that team, which rightfully so. He obviously got Deontay Adams to get traded from Green Bay to Vegas. He made that happen. So obviously I don't think you see him recruit him again. But that could play a big factor. So it's like, what are the Jets really going to do? And then again, he might not even have a real choice in that because right now, the only team really talking about signing him is the Jets. So he might just have to sit there and wait, even though he don't want to, unless they've got
plenty of cap space. So if they want to trade for Rodgers and Rodgers wants to play, I think that's the team that he gets traded to. I know he probably doesn't want to do that because that's where Brett Favre went. And they're like, this is just Brett Favre 2.0. Everybody says, I don't think he wants to follow in his footsteps that way. It'd be pretty funny if he signed with the Jets for a year and then played for the Vikings.
Let's be real here though. The Jets with Brett Favre were the Jets. The Jets possibly would be with Aaron Rodgers as a whole different team because that defense has proved that they were so good last year. I don't see it going down too much into the next year. If not, they're going to be even better with a lot of them young guys on defense. So granted, it would be the exact same thing out of Green Bay to the Jets, but this time it could play a bigger role in your career. Brett Favre, obviously, when he went to the Jets, there wasn't too much hope there then because where the team was at that standpoint.
That's actually a misconception. Through the first 11 games of the season, okay, or I think it was the first 10 games of the season when Brett Favre was there, they were 8-2. But he tore his triceps muscles and hurt himself, but didn't want to lose his consecutive starting streak. That was, hubris on his part. The team went like 1-5 down the stretch and missed the playoffs. They were the number 1 seed through 10 weeks the year Brett Favre went to the Jets.
That's true. Now think about
He
it.
had Santana Moss. They had Curtis Martin. You know, they were really doing well. You know, and it was his fault in my opinion. You know, I was a Brett Favre fan. You know, I loved it when he came to the Vikings. They nearly made it to the Super Bowl, but he just same old Brett. You know, throw that interception at the end against the Saints. You know, but that's neither here nor there in the reality of right now. You're right. The Jets have a great defense. I think they're going to have a pretty good running game when Breece Hall comes back. They've got a lot of free agent running backs on their team right now. James Robinson is a free agent. He didn't show much. You know, Carter is still in, I think he's going into his 3rd year, but he was injured late in the year. So they had to turn to that Zalostra Knight, I think is his name, was the starter like the last 5 weeks of the season. They were still productive running the football. The quarterback was the problem. And if they get Rodgers, they'll be dangerous in the AFC for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, if they definitely get Rodgers, I could see him, you know, definitely in the playoffs and, you know, giving Buffalo a run for that money.
Well, I wouldn't forget about Miami. You know, I think that they're going to be all right too if Tua can stay healthy.
Oh, for sure. And I'm not going to forget Miami, you know, by any means, but at the same time, I'm not ready. It's hard to have that conversation about Miami until you see where Tua's at. You know what I mean? Because right now, if you ask me with Tua's health, it's not looking promising, especially when you technically take a whole month after your season's ended to even get cleared protocol.
Right.
And it's happened how many times? Was that the 3rd one this last year?
He had a couple for sure. I think they tried to cover the first one up. But
for sure.
You know, my back. It was just my back. Yeah, okay.
I mean, something was definitely there. At first, I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those guys where, you know, the media is just making shit up, you know, looking for the story, looking for them views and money. But you know what I mean? Obviously something happened the week before to get hit like that. I mean, that was a big hit. Not gonna lie, but at the same time, I don't think personally it was a hit with the outcome that happened came to it. To me, there had to be something pre-existing for that tackle to play out how it did.
Right.
I mean, because that just looked like a standard sack.
Yeah.
So the next thing on our list, so we talked about Carr, we talked about Rodgers. We might as well address it. Jalen Ramsey. A lot of rumors. Jalen Ramsey's going to be dealt before free agency and draft, and a lot of rumors, a lot of recruits coming out of Detroit's camp here. You got.
I know you've got to be happy about that, but you're worried about what it's going to cost him. For me, I think that this is another cost-cutting move for the salary cap for the Rams. They're happy to get rid of good players. You know, they don't have draft picks because they've spent them all to acquire these big-time players, and they got the Super Bowl out of it. You know, They got a Super Bowl out of it, but, you know, now things are coming home to roost because, you know, they set themselves up for a short amount of time to try to win a championship, and they accomplished their goal. But now it's going to cost them for a few years before they can really go back all in again. And so, you know, with Wagner being, you know, is going to go ahead and be cut. Now they're looking to trade Ramsey because he's got a lot of value. They probably would have traded Bobby Wagner, but I think because he's got a lot of age on him, for one thing. And then the second part is that he had such a high salary cap number that they probably couldn't find anybody to trade him to. And so he's going to have to accept a much lower cap figure from somebody else. Ramsey may have to, redo his contract to take the trade to wherever he goes. But I know that I'm sure you'd be very excited if he ended up in Detroit. They've made quite a few moves back and forth over the last several years.
Exactly. I would be really happy if Jalen Ramsey came to Detroit, because there's a couple people I wouldn't care to see if they don't come back. I believe you put a Jalen Ramsey with a Jeff Okudah, a Jerry Jacobs, our safety Curry. I'm drawing a blank on our rookie safety.
Okay.
Curry Joseph. There you go.
Right.
I think that veteran presence around those guys would really help in this next year. And I think you could solve a lot of our secondary issues that we had this year just with Jalen there. And he's only 28 years old, so I'm assuming he'd probably be about 29, maybe 29 by the season starts. So he still has some quality years left in him. I think he got a straight good at least 5 years left of starter capability play left in him. So I think it's a good trade. I'm okay with giving away maybe not the 6th pick of the first round, but I'm pretty sure the 18th is our 2nd pick in the first round. I'm okay giving up that pick because you still get a high position at defense at the 6th pick. And then the 18th pick, you get Jalen Ramsey. And then obviously you're probably gonna have to send another pick for the following from next year to him as well. Which
or
I'm
third
okay
rounder,
with that.
something like that, 3rd or 4th rounder. Who
You know
knows
what I
what
mean?
they're going to ask? If they're desperate to get rid of him because it'll save them so much salary cap space where they can, make some moves, then maybe they won't ask for a whole lot.
I think, and this is just me speculating, this is how I'm looking at Brad Holmes with the Stafford deal and the Rams. They have a real good relationship. So I really think if they're really trying to make this trade work and some way pick them up and get draft picks, I think Detroit is the front runner in this. They've worked together. They know how to deal with each other. We'll see if we can get a deal done. I don't think Brad Holmes will overpay. So I think it's a good possibility. Ramsey seems intrigued about it. He did say he wouldn't comment on his future, commit to anything, but he didn't shut down the recruitment from St. Brown on Twitter. Jerry Jacobs is on Twitter recruiting him as we speak now. So, I mean, a lot of things. I've also heard this report from Bobby Wagner. I've heard rumors floated around that Detroit could be another possible landing spot for Bobby Wagner. I mean, coming from the Rams, Brad Holmes, that's a possibility.
Your Detroit Lions are an up-and-coming team. They're going to be a destination. They have salary cap room. And so, I think that you're going to hear a lot of rumors about a lot of the great players that are available possibly going to Detroit. Hey, Chris, I need you to enable the screen share.
Okay.
I've got a graphic here that's got our draft order.
There you go, buddy.
See if I can get it on here.
As a Lions fan, real quick, speaking on this, hearing, Ramsey, hearing those rumors,
right?
It's definitely a different spot because you're not used to this. You're not used to Detroit being a destination.
Right. Can you see what I got there?
Yes, I can.
All right. So anyway, just, you were talking about Detroit having the 6th and the 18th pick. I thought we'd look at the entire first round. And there's actually, if you look at 21 there, the Dolphins forfeited that pick because of the Tom Brady interference, tampering. So there's really only 31 picks in the first round this year. And, there's You've got a couple of teams here that have first round draft picks that got two. You know, the Lions are one of them. And, I look at, we'll get in more into the draft and who's going to be drafted and, the needs and all that kind of stuff when we get closer to the draft, which will be, coming up in a couple of months. But, just looking at this particular, set of who's who and, the order that we've got right now, we could talk about briefly that we think that, Chicago could trade Justin Fields, get another draft pick from somebody, and, end up with the number one pick and take a quarterback there. We've got Houston has two draft picks in the top 12 there. They got 2 and 12. Are they going to be looking, for a quarterback?
Yeah.
They need a quarterback. Or are they gonna swap picks with Chicago, and then they'll take the quarterback and Field stays in Chicago? Arizona, they got the third pick for a reason. They're not a very good team. I don't see them being really good this year. The Colts need a quarterback. The Seahawks have 2 picks, but they also have Geno Smith, and he's a free agent. Are they going to franchise him? Or are we going to see him sign a short-term deal, to stay there, and they draft a quarterback, to be his eventual replacement, somebody that they can maybe get at 20, and then they can coach him up? Or are they going to shoot for the moon and take somebody at 5?
Yeah. Sorry, Facebook kind of messed me up. I was trying to fix it, but I'm just going to do it later.
You're
Because
all
I
right.
shared our broadcast, so they just locked me out of my own account right now. So now I got to upload my ID just to prove who I am.
Right. Well, I'll keep rambling on here. I mean, you guys got 2 picks. If you don't get Jalen Ramsey, what 2 positions as a Detroit Lion fan would you like to see them pick up, your biggest areas of need?
I know we need another defensive end.
Pair him with Aiden Hutchinson. That way he doesn't get double teamed all the time. That's probably smart.
Yep. And then also, I know we also need a linebacker. So depending on what plays out before the draft and free agency, we'll see where we're at. So I'll be okay with the defensive end. I would like to see a defensive end or a big linebacker or even a cornerback if it's worth it at 6.
Right.
If we still keep the 18th pick, I want defense again.
Yeah.
Because I believe as long as we can do good in free agency, we shouldn't have that many openings on offense. So let's build this defense. The offense was top 10 in the league all last year. So let's keep it that way. You know what I'm saying? Let's build this defense and make that defense a top 10 as well as that offense.
Yeah.
I would be okay with offense in later rounds, of course. I'm not going to sit here and shoot down. I'm not going to sit here and shoot down picking offense in this draft. I just think if we keep both first round picks, we got to go defense.
Well, I'm looking here, just another real quick, summary going through it. Raiders, Falcons, both of those teams technically need a quarterback, and the Panthers as well, So in the top 9, you've got Houston, Colts, technically Seattle, Raiders, Falcons, Panthers. There's 6 teams that need a starting quarterback. And that's going to lead me into getting back to, just us here. I've got a list of the free agent quarterbacks that are on the market. Okay. The free agent quarterbacks that are on the market, the franchise tag has to be applied to a couple of these guys by March 7th, or they're completely unrestricted free agents. Now, Carr's already on the market, and we've talked about him possibly going to the Jets or the Saints. You've got Baker Mayfield out there. For my money, I don't see a team that's going to want him to be their starting quarterback. I think he can be a very solid backup, but I think that the league in general has kind of moved off of him as a starter for right now. What do you think?
Uh, say that one more time. Who are we talking about? I'm sorry.
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield. That's a tough question. I mean, with him, because I feel like he deserves a chance. If that makes sense.
Sure.
I feel like he's shown he could play. I mean, if you go back and look at his first game with the LA Rams.
Yeah.
I think he proved, he can win. Even the game we needed him to win to make the playoffs, he didn't play horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he didn't look that good either because, how much of that playbook did he really know at the point where he was playing? So, of course, nothing looked perfect out there for him. I still don't think he's got a fair chance. So, I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of agreeing with you. I feel like the league has moved on. I don't feel like he'll get that chance, but I feel like he deserves that one more chance.
Yeah. My thoughts is that I thought they brought Baker in because they were concerned that Matt Stafford may retire. And I thought that, if Matt Stafford retires, they've duped themselves into, on a cheap deal, they got themselves Baker Mayfield. He auditioned for them, he did his thing and he showed that he's capable. But he didn't have any weapons. I mean, they didn't have no wide receivers at the end of the year.
Exactly.
He was throwing it a lot to the tight end. Tight end looked good. Running game started to come alive because they were forced to run the football because they didn't have any receivers. And so I could see him staying in LA as the backup to Stafford because I don't think Stafford's going to retire. And I think that is his best opportunity to work his way back into a starting role or through injury to Stafford is to remain in LA.
Yeah. I mean, as long as he's still is he still under contract? I think he is.
Nope. He's unrestricted free agent.
Okay.
That's what all of these guys we're going to talk about are free agents. The next one is Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold started with the Jets, moves to Carolina. He's both been given the starting job and then had it taken away and then given the starting job again and had it taken away. But at the end of the year, Carolina was playing pretty decent considering, a lot of people thought that they were just going to go in the tank. They traded away Christian McCaffrey, and now Steve Wilkes was the interim coach. A lot of people wanted him to get that job, but now you got Frank Reich there. Are they going to stick with Darnold or are they going to look for a different quarterback? And if so, what happens to Darnold?
I mean, he's another one like Baker. I mean, for Darnold, I think you hope that Carolina holds you. Even if they draft a QB, you hope they retain you.
Right.
Because if you do get picked up, you're probably just going to be a backup. But now this is where I was going to bring up before you got to this point. And I'm kind of curious because we know Murray's hurt. We know Murray's going to miss the first couple of weeks or a few weeks in the season from what I'm hearing. They're not sure if he's going to be ready to go by the time the season starts.
Right.
So with that being said, do you see a Baker, maybe a Sam Darnold, if both of them don't get picked up by their teams they're with currently? You see maybe one of those going over to Arizona and getting a couple starts and then being trade bait later in the season next year. That's a very big possibility as well. So, I mean, they do have that maybe as an option if Carolina chooses to go that route. I'm not sure who the Cardinals have as their straight backup.
It's Colt McCoy.
Colt McCoy. Well, I mean, as long as he's still playing, he probably keeps that job, but
Well,
I know
but
he's getting up
you
there.
got a new coaching staff, and so I mean they're going to want to keep their options open. As far as bringing in another quarterback, they know the job belongs to Kyler Murray. Are they willing to start the season as the starter, knowing that eventually they're going to lose their job? That's one of those Jacoby Brissett type situations. Okay. He's a free agent also. Okay. So you've got, let me read this list here of the players that might fit that bill. You said Baker. We've talked about Darnold. Taylor Heineke is an unrestricted free agent.
Hang on, Dave.
Commanders.
I hate to do this, but can you just keep talking what you're talking? Let me go grab my ID, see if I can't get back on my Facebook real quick. Because they just kicked us live off of Facebook, but we're still live with Twitch and YouTube. Okay. So if you guys, just so you guys know when you come back, I'm sorry about this technical difficulty. Facebook's always on some balloon.
I can easily yap here for a long time.
All right, buddy. I'm going to run and get that real quick. I'll be right back.
No problem. Well, folks, I want to talk about, we're talking about these free agent quarterbacks. I'm just going to run down the list here. And if you joined us on the show here before, we've talked about Jimmy G, the possibility of him going to the Raiders because of his relationship and knowing the system with, Josh McDaniels, the head coach there in Vegas. You got, and then maybe also to the Jets. He's another guy that could end up with the Jets. He's another guy that could end up in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay doesn't have, a quarterback technically right now with any starting experience. Kyle Trask is the only quarterback that's on the roster right now in Tampa. So maybe, that'll be a location that somebody is interested. But Tampa Bay has the absolute worst salary cap situation right now going into 2023. So they may want to stand pat with Kyle Trask. I think as of right now, I think Jimmy G is the most likely possibility to go to the Raiders. Now you go to the next guy on my list. I have Teddy Bridgewater as an unrestricted free agent also. He backed up and then started there in Miami. Will he continue to be there in Miami? Hope to continue to get his shot there. I thought he played well situationally. Definitely a better quarterback overall than Skylar Thompson, the third stringer. But he may just need some seasoning and some experience in the NFL. He played well at times also. It just feels like that the team fell apart the second that Tua was unavailable to be the starter. Lamar Jackson, of course, he's set to be an unrestricted free agent. They're going to franchise tag him. And I think that when they franchise tag him, if he doesn't want to play on the franchise tag, they're going to have to find a trade partner. And we talked about it on the broadcast before. My choices for him are Washington, Atlanta, and Carolina. It's in the NFC. They get him out of their conference. And even though the proximity of Washington and Baltimore, are right there, I think that Eric Bieniemy could fashion an offense to fit him as a running style quarterback. They've got receivers in Terry McLaurin. They've got a couple of good running backs. Their defense has been okay. It has been better in the past. They need to make sure they secured Daron Payne here in the offseason. He might be their franchise tag player. But finally, I had Geno Smith. We talked about him a little bit, with the Seahawks having 2 first-round draft picks and having, pretty high draft picks, that, there's a possibility that he will remain on a short-term deal. They'll pay him well to be their quarterback, knowing that they're probably going to draft his replacement. And depending on how high it is, if it's the early pick, you're looking at, a guy that's probably going to be the starter going into 2024. If it's the later pick, they'll be more apt to let him sit and learn at the feet of a good proven starting quarterback. Maybe let him, ride the bench for a couple of years while they teach him the ways that they want him to be, for their system and their team. Well, did you get your Facebook all handled, buddy?
Yes, I'm trying. I just got back in. I'm trying to see if it's just going to let us connect here. It's telling me sending data on my other end. The only other thing I can say is if this don't work, I hate to say this, but we could always restart the stream.
In which case, this would be part 1.
Yeah. I hate to. I'm so sorry that we're even in this position.
Are you able to share this after we conclude the broadcast? Because, we could just keep going, and then once it's over, you can just share it. Well, we won't get the comments in live time like we would want, but.
Yeah,
whatever you want to do is fine. It's your deal, buddy.
If you want to wait a second, we will be right back live. I'm just going to try to end everything, redo it all. That way, because if we're not live on all the pages, it shows us pretty much,
We grind to a halt. It's okay.
All right, boys. I'm going to end this, Dave, and then I'll send you a new link and we'll refire it up.
We'll try it again.